Good afternoon to anyone who's watching this webinar. I'm recording it because it is part of a weekly series that I provide for students who are enrolled in an online course I created called Relating, Dating, and Partnering in Midlife. So, and I hold these in the afternoon when it's convenient for me during Eastern Standard Time, but not everybody can jump on. So I ask people to send me questions that I can answer even when people can't attend a webinar. They'll get the recording of it later. So I'm going to read a question that was sent to me through email, written by a man, I'd say early 40s, I think. He says, "Frozen. I'm split. There's a part of me that wants a relationship, but the other part of me doesn't want to budge. The idea of going back into the dating game freezes me, and I know what the fears are. First, I'm afraid of myself, specifically my own bad choices and disastrous patterns. I don't want to go down the same old roads I've gone down before, and I almost don't trust myself to make healthy decisions when red flags come up. Secondly, as much as a part of me whines that I don't want to be alone, the other part of me is A-okay being totally alone for the rest of my life. Just give me a bowl of buttered popcorn and Netflix for the weekend and I'm good. And lastly, I just don't have patience and tolerance for BS anymore. I just don't want to deal with anyone's insecurities." That poses a bit of a problem since we're all human and emotionally confused at times, and many of us act out of our fears, especially when dating. Let's face it, people, even in their 30s and 40s, can be a bit of a train wreck from all the hits they've taken in trying to find love. So, well, that's interesting. I think, it's a common dilemma that many people experience, going back and forth between wanting a relationship and then realizing, you know what, I'm very content the way things are. And the way he describes finding people who are train wrecks from difficult pasts and problems they've had in their relationships. Well, one of the main reasons I thought to create this online course, because understanding the human mind and how we all operate and function in life, no matter who you are, what age you are, what sex you are, is so valuable. Because you can tell when you're coming from your health, once you understand what that feels like. And you'll know when somebody else is coming from their health. Everybody has innate health. Everybody does. And we'll lose sight of it. You can never lose it, but you can lose sight of it when your mind is filled with negative thinking. It's the best way to describe it. Simply, negative thinking, which covers all sorts of insecurities, from jealousy to anger to upset to disappointment, expectations, and the list goes on. When any of us, the writer of this piece or anyone he comes in contact with, anyone we come in contact with, we're all subject to this negative thinking because we're human. And it comes with a negative feeling. So that's the alert. That's what helps us regroup and wait for the other person to regroup, even if they don't know about how this works, how the three principles, mind, thought, and consciousness, operate within everyone to give them an experience of reality. And that experience of reality shifts and changes as a person's thinking shifts and changes. Even if somebody you're dating doesn't know about that, or you're just beginning to understand how that works, doesn't matter, because everybody comes back to a healthy baseline, an innate health. Just give it time. Now, a lot of people, in my private practice, I work with married couples and people who are living together quite often. And a lot of people who, somebody who likes emotion, sharing emotion, often gets together with someone who shies away from that, calls it confrontation. And that person likes to leave, like just walk away. There's a healthy part of that. The healthy part is not wanting to get into confrontation, knowing deep down inside, I think we all know that confrontation doesn't lead to resolving things. It just upsets people. But the person who just leaves doesn't help the person who's in an emotional state. So the way around that is the person who is on more solid ground can say, I really want to hear what you're upset about, what you want to talk to me about, but it's too hard for me to understand it, to take it in when you're so upset. Can we talk about it in a half an hour? An hour? How long do you need do you think, to settle down, to calm down, to clear your mind so that we can have a conversation together? Do you see the value in that? Do you see that when you sit down to talk things over, you can talk about anything, literally anything at all. There should not be any taboos or nothing you're afraid to talk over. You can talk about anything if you're coming from a pleasant state of mind, not a contentious state of mind, not an angry state of mind, not feeling put upon or feeling that something's been taken from you. It's occurring to me that there's actually a book written with this title, that something about fear or love. We're either in a state of insecurity and fear, or we're in a state of love. The best time to talk things over and have a conversation with somebody is when you're in a state of mind of love and understanding. You're going to have more compassion for the other person. You're going to be able to hear them out better. That only makes sense. So why would you want to have a conversation, which is an argument, from a state of fear? Another way of saying fear is insecurity. Fear of losing part of yourself to the other person, fear of not getting what you deserve, fear of not getting enough, fear of, you fill in the blank. It's some level of insecurity. So we're either in a state of insecurity or a state of love. You can feel it. Our thinking comes with the feeling, always, always, 24/7, whether we know it or not. So there was something else in this that I wanted to address. This is going to sound like a plug for the course, but it is. I created it, so not because I'm going to make a lot of money from it, but because I wanted to spread this understanding. known as the three principles, to as many people as possible, especially, particularly in the world of single people, because of the struggles that so many people encounter, wanting to be in a relationship and feeling dissatisfied. Getting over a cold. Sorry about that. So, and it's kind of tongue in cheek when he said, part of me is A-okay being totally alone for the rest of my life. Just give me a bowl of buttered popcorn and Netflix for the weekend and I'm good. Well, you can hear, the sarcasm in that, right? Everyone, I don't really think, maybe I'm wrong, but it feels to me like every human would like to have a partner, a person. I had an engaged couple where she called him her person. She wants him to be her person. And I just love that. So it's just great to have another brain to bounce things off of, to have another set of eyes and ears. And how wonderful is that, to walk through life with a partner in life. And some partners stick for a certain period of time, and that's the life of that relationship. We come together, we learn from each other, and not every relationship is meant to go the full lifespan of the two individuals. So a relationship can be time limited, but of course you want your life partner. You want to be with somebody for life. And the best way to make that happen is to be the best person you can be, without an eye on how good a person they're being. They're going to come in and out of their health and well-being. Let it be. Let it be. And if you don't react to it, it'll be gone much quicker. So, yes, it's wonderful to have alone time, but you can have alone time in a relationship too. You just ask for it. You just say, I just need some room right now. I have another couple who, they don't like the term space, but so they'll call it room. I need a little room. That's all you have to do. And, that's why there are so many jokes about the man cave. Well, they need space. So they go into their man cave and they do their thing. Or, I think it's really important for each individual to have an office to go to, a second bedroom to go to. However you set it up, a meditation room, whatever, a music room, and you claim that space for whatever time you want to be in your own mind. And that's a beautiful thing too, to enjoy being in your own mind and seeing what comes out of nowhere and insights you may get. But then it's wonderful to have a partner to touch base with after you've had your alone time. And if you really have a nice understanding, you won't take it negatively that your partner needs space. That's their mind, where their mind is at right now. If you don't take it personally, you'll be just fine. So let's see, there was one other thing I wanted to say before we close off for today. Oh, about the BS, tolerating BS. I think I touched on that already. Dealing with other people's insecurities. Well, Thought it was over this cold. We have them too. You know, humans have insecurities. Like I mentioned before, an insecure thought comes to mind and you're stuck in that thought for as long as you're stuck in it until you realize, ooh, that was just silly, insecure thinking. And then it's gone. It's another beautiful thing about the principles is that you begin to recognize the more you understand how they work together, that we're conscious, mind, thought, and consciousness, we're conscious of everything we think, and there's universal intelligence that we're all part of. We tap into it, whether we know it or not. It's what pumps our lungs and beats our heart. It's what heals our wounds. You know, so this universal intelligence is what you want to be tapping into as much as possible in life. And the more you find yourself doing just that, the more you experience your capacity to tap into this unlimited innate intelligence, the less bothered you'll be by the other person when they lose sight of theirs. And, you know, you might find a way to share what you're learning, not as a way of expecting them to learn also. It's a cute little story that comes to mind. Some of you may know Dr. Bill Pettit, the psychiatrist who's now living in the Midwest with his wife, Linda. So when they were both widowed when they met, and they started dating, and Linda told Bill that she didn't want to hear anything about the three principles. That was enough. He's talking about it too much. And he said, oh, okay. I won't, I promise I won't talk about it anymore. So they continued with their relationship, and at some point, something happened. I don't know if I ever heard what it was, but something pretty dramatic happened. And Bill took it so calmly. Linda said, Bill, is this because of what you know about the three principles? And he said, probably. And so Linda said, teach me. And now they're both teaching together. They're international teachers sharing the principles worldwide. So there you go. I think that's enough for today. And I hope you've enjoyed this. Send me your questions. Send them into my email address, which is Lori@3principlestherapy.com. Lori, Lori, the number 3. Principles is plural, PLES. And happy to answer them. Some Mondays we may have people coming on the call, in which case I will take questions live. Okay, have a nice rest of the day, evening, wherever you are. Bye-bye.